Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles workbook for students, part 2 of the workbook, section 12, What is the Ego? And today we are on lesson 338, I am affected only by my thoughts. It needs but this to let salvation come to all the world, for in this single thought is everyone released at last from fear. Now he has learned that no one frightens him and nothing can endanger him. He has no enemies and he is safe from all external things. His thoughts can frighten him, but since these thoughts belong to him alone, he has the power to change them and exchange each fear thought for a happy thought of love. He crucified himself, yet God has planned that his beloved Son will be redeemed. Your plan is sure, my Father, only yours. All other plans will fail, and I will have thoughts that will frighten me until I learn that you have given me the only thought which leads me to salvation. Mine alone will fail and lead me nowhere. But the thought you gave me promises to lead me home, because it holds your promise to your Son. Footnote 153. God's promise to his Son is multifaceted, but the main emphasis throughout the Course is the same as what seems to be suggested above, that we will return home to him. Salvation is a promise made by God that you would find your way to him at last. Lesson 338. I am affected only by my thoughts. And now we will read the commentary by Alan Watson. There is no practice suggestion by Robert Perry. This is a key course concept repeated many times in many different words. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. That's from chapter 21, section 2. I am never upset for the reason I think. That's workbook. Oh, I'm sorry, it's workbook, lesson 5. I was trying to figure out how to read that. It is impossible the Son of God be merely driven by events outside of him. It is impossible that happenings that come to him were not his choice. His power of decision is the determiner of every situation in which he seems to find himself by chance or accident. That's chapter 21, again, section 2, paragraph 3. Nothing beyond yourself can make you fearful or loving because nothing is beyond you. And that's chapter 10. It is your thoughts alone that cause you pain. Nothing external to your mind can hurt or injure you in any way. There is no cause beyond yourself that can reach down and bring oppression. No one but yourself affects you. There is nothing in the world that has the power to make you ill or sad or weak or frail. But it is you who have the power to dominate all things you see by merely recognizing what you are. That's workbook lesson 190. The Course says that accepting this is foundational to our release from our suffering. As long as we think something outside of us is affecting us and causing our pain, we will not look within for the thoughts that are truly at the root of the pain. We will believe ourselves to be innocent victims of forces beyond our control. There are no forces beyond our control. That is the whole point. It needs but this to let salvation come to all the world, for in this single thought is everyone released at last from fear. The realization that there is nothing outside me threatening me in any way is sure to release us from fear. At first, it may seem to induce guilt, because if no one else is doing it to me, I must be doing it, and that seems to be a horrendously difficult admission to make. In fact, however, the realization that I am affected only by my thoughts brings an expansive freedom from fear. Now has he learned that no one frightens him and nothing can endanger him. He has no enemies and he is safe from all external things. Let me remind myself of this today. Nothing can endanger me. I have no enemies and nothing external can threaten me. I do not need to live in anxiety and defensiveness. I am safe. Yet, what about the fact that my own thoughts can hurt me? Isn't that something to be afraid of? It seems especially frightening that I can be affected by thoughts I have but of which I am not conscious. The eerie message of psychology that I am driven by subconscious motives that never surface in my conscious mind has always been frightening, and the Course is very much in line with those psychological theories. It is constantly telling us that we do believe certain things we are not aware of believing, and that we are driven by subterranean guilt about separation so deeply buried that perhaps we will never in this world become aware of it. How can we be free from fear when these hidden enemies lurk beneath the surface of our minds, ready to explode like landmines when we unsuspectingly step on them? His thoughts can frighten him, but since these thoughts belong to him alone, he has the power to change them and exchange each fear thought for a happy thought of love. He crucified himself. Yet God has planned that his beloved Son will be redeemed. The good news is that since our thoughts are our thoughts, we can change them, even the subconscious ones. That is what the Course is all about. Yes, we have crucified ourselves, but God has planned a way out for us. He has planned that we be redeemed, that is, liberated or released from our self-imposed prison. It is a way of changing our minds, and nothing more than that is needed. All other plans will fail. They will fail because they are based on an untruth, namely that the problem is something external, something other than my thoughts. I can try to solve my problems with more money, with more medicine or drugs, or surrounding myself by people who seem to supply what I seem to be lacking, or what I seem to lack. Being external solutions, they will all fail, because my real problem is my own thoughts. No matter how ingenious they are, my plans will fail, because I am solving the wrong problems. And I will have thoughts that will frighten me until I learn that you have given me the only thought that leads me to salvation. Mine alone will fail and lead me nowhere, but the thought you gave me promises to lead me home, because it holds your promise to your Son. Even though I know the truth of this lesson, I will still have frightening thoughts, thoughts that seem to hurt me. That is not anything to be concerned about. When such thoughts surface, I can learn to shrug and tell myself, so I still have an ego. What else is new? I can bring thoughts that frighten me into the presence of the thought given by God, the Holy Spirit. He is the thought that leads me to salvation, the thought of forgiveness and love. He is a thought full of promise and certainty, a thought that tells me I am God's beloved Son, with nothing to fear, as we saw in yesterday's lesson. My sinlessness protects me from all harm. Let me today be willing to recognize my fear thoughts when they arise, rather than denying I have them, so that with the help of the Holy Spirit I can change them and exchange them for a happy thought of love. And now I will lead us into meditation. Lesson 338. I am affected only by my thoughts. Your plan is sure, my Father, only yours. all other plans will fail, and I will have thoughts that will frighten me until I learn that you have given me the only thought which leads me to. I will now lead us into meditation of Lesson 338. I am affected only by my thoughts. Your plan is sure, my Father, only yours. All other plans will fail, and I will have thoughts that will frighten me until I learn that you have given me the only thought which leads me to salvation. Mine alone will fail and lead me nowhere, but the thought you gave me promises to lead me home, because it holds your promise to your Son. I am affected only by my thoughts. Thank you so much for joining with me in the meditation of Lesson 338. And now I will read What is the Ego? Commentary by Alan Watson. We are reading paragraph 4, sentence 2. In suffering, the price for faith in it, which is the ego, is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare to die. This is one of the Course's darkest assessments of our ego. It evokes a picture of a primitive, blood sacrifice religion such as we read about having existed in Central America, where human beings had their hearts ripped from their bodies still beating, and altars had channels cut into them to drain away the flowing blood. It says that our faith in the ego is the cause of suffering as immense and terrifying as that. For our faith in the ego's illusion of autonomy, of separated identity, we pay an immense price in suffering. Each day we persist in this insane faith, we crucify the Son of God. For the existence of a separated identity demands the death of our unified identity. As sickly followers of this religion, for religion it is, we are all preparing to die as we watch the sacrifice of the Holy Son of God. Of course, the Son of God cannot die. The sacrifice is illusion, but to our minds it is terribly, terribly real. Our own death will vindicate our faith. It will prove our separation from God. Although this suffering is not real in the final sense, it is real to us. And one of the things the Course asks of us in order to bring about our deliverance from the ego is that we honestly assess the cost of our belief in it. What does it cost me to hold a grievance? What does it cost me to hate? What does it cost me to insist on being right in an argument? What does it cost me to hold on to my view of myself as a victim? What does it cost me to hold on to my guilt? What does it cost me to hold on to my perception of sin in my brothers and sisters? We need to count the cost of our belief in the ego. The Course says you will not accept the cost of fear if you recognize it. The ego is trying to teach you how to gain the whole world and lose your own soul. The Holy Spirit teaches that you cannot lose your soul and that there is no gain in the world, for of itself it profits nothing. To invest without profit is surely to impoverish yourself, and the overhead is high. Not only is there no profit in the investment, but the cost to you is enormous. For this investment costs you the world's reality by denying yours and gives you nothing in return. You must learn the cost of sleeping and refuse to pay it. Belief in sin needs great defense and at enormous cost. All that the Holy Spirit offers must be defended against and sacrificed. For sin is carved into a block out of your peace and laid between you and its return. We pay an immense price in suffering in order to hold on to our tattered, treasured ego. We lose awareness of our real identity to hold on to an imagined one that we can never make real. Once we see this, once we recognize the insanity of it, we will no longer be willing to accept it. Once we see what the ego demands of us, we will refuse to pay the price, because we will realize that the ego is not what we really want. But first, very often, we must confront the horror of what we have done. We must look at that altar dripping with blood and realize we have been choosing this. It is not difficult to relinquish judgment, but it is difficult indeed to try to keep it. The teacher of God lays down happily the instant he recognizes its cost. And I think the teacher of God lays it down happily the instant he recognizes its cost. All of the ugliness he sees about him is its outcome. All of the pain he looks upon is its result. All of the loneliness and sense of loss, of passing time and growing hopelessness, of sickening despair and fear of death, all these have come of it, and now he knows that these things need not be. Not one is true. For he has given up their cause, and they which never were but the effects of his mistaken choice have fallen from him. Teacher of God, this step will bring you peace. Can it be difficult to want but this? Thank you so much for joining with me in Lesson 338. I am affected only by my thoughts. I love you. Have a beautiful day.